Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're checking out Last Train Home, the upcoming post-World War I RTS, in which you're tasked with getting your soldiers home after the war. Except, home is a rather interesting concept here since all your soldiers are from Czechoslovakia. Speaking, of course, in the context of when this game is set. Now, if you're familiar with post-World War I European history, or with the history of the birth of Czechoslovakia as a nation-state, you'll understand exactly why this is a rather poignant topic. And that's not the only poignant thing in this game. It is fascinatingly done with some very interesting mechanics, but words won't do them justice, so enough talk. Let's go ahead and dive into a new journey to really explore how Last Train Home works and why it stands out in this realm of RTS. I even hesitate to call it that. Anyway, let's kick off a new journey. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my previous one that I used to kind of learn the ropes and understand exactly how the game works. And in terms of difficulty, I'm going to keep it as the default settings over here, but I just want to very quickly show you the sort of breadth of options that you'll actually have if you decide to play the game for yourself or when the game actually releases, so on and so forth. I also want to point out one thing that's not listed over here, and that actually has to do with the game's audio settings. You can either play the game with an English dub or with what the game calls immersive audio, where the language spoken is more appropriate for who you're talking to, or who's doing the talking, I should say. So I've got the vocal audio really low, so you won't hear it as much perhaps while I'm talking, but rest assured that it is not in English. Those subtitles will guide us through what's actually being said, so we're not completely lost either. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and start our journey.
Velká válka skončila. Jediné, co chceme, je vrátit se domů. Do nové republiky, která se zrodila v srdci Evropy. Jenže trčíme tady, protože sílící občanská válka blokuje přímou cestu na západ. Jediná cesta ven vede na východ přes území, o které bojuje Rudá a Bílá armáda. Musíme přejet Sibiř v obrněném vlaku a pak bezpečně doplout domů lodí. Je to naše jediná šance, jak tuto dlouhou cestu přežít. Možná to bude náš poslední vlak domů.
Během Velké války, které se později začalo říkat První světová válka, měla Československá legie za úkol bojovat jménem Ruska výměnou za podporu nezávislé Československé republiky. Válka si však vyžádala nesmírné ztráty na životech a hospodářský kolaps v Rusku, což zažehlo revoluci, která sesadila cara a přerostla v krvavou občanskou válku. Bolševici založili Rudou armádu, aby upevnili moc a vládu nad sjednoceným Ruskem, zatímco Bílá armáda vznikla proto, aby se Rudým postavila. Československá legie byla nyní ve velmi ošemetné pozici. Ozbrojená jednotka v cizí zemi, bez jasné příslušnosti k Rudým či Bílým. Západní hranice Ruska navíc stále ovládaly mocnosti, které založení Československa bránily. Československá prozatímní vláda proto legionářům nařídila, aby zůstali neutrální a vydali se na východ do Vladivostoku, kde se měli nalodit a plout zpátky do Evropy. Během evakuace přes transsibirskou magistrálu se však legie zapletla do ozbrojených střetů, které měly dopad na běh ruské občanské války. Nyní nás čeká příběh hry Last Train Home, fiktivního díla inspirovaného zápisky geniálního člena Československé legie a opravdového historického pramene. Příběh začíná u ambiciózního kapitána pod vedením majora Gazdíka, který vede poslední jednotku československých legionářů, která jede obrněným vlakem do Vladivostoku.
Hlavu hore, kapitán. Treba skontrolovať vlak a môžeme vyraziť. Počul som, ako sa chválite, že budete lepší major ako ja. Nuž, uvidíme, ako vám pôjde velenie. Vezmite si čatu a vyrazte obchodovať s miestnym linárom, zatiaľ čo zvyšok legionárov bude strážiť vlak.
Alright, so first off, you're introduced to sort of these RTS mechanics that the game has. And again, I hesitate to say RTS because that has a certain set of expectations, where this feels like it's a blend of those mechanics and stealth tactics mechanics. Your soldiers will always have different classes. So for example, we've got our scout, we've got our rifleman, a machine gunner, and a medic, and each of those classes will determine what kind of special abilities they have access to, and you can upgrade these over time. There are sort of RPG elements, if you will. You can kind of cross-class and stuff as well, so there's all that kind of stuff going on. But in terms of RTS mechanics, as far as I've played so far, I've not seen any like base building or anything like that. I've not seen, you know, point capture systems or anything like that, but I have seen stealth mechanics and, you know, things like vision cones on your enemies and stuff like that. So it's a hard one to classify, to be perfectly honest, and calling it an RTS I feel like is understating the variety of mechanics you'll be engaging with, but either way.
To nie je dobré.
Rychle!
Mlyny sú zničené. Našťastie to vyzerá, že tu nebol nikto, kto by sa mohol zraniť. Unáhľajte sa a pozbierajte vrecia so zásobami potravín skôr, než tiež zhoria.
Obviously, things can't be too simple, otherwise it wouldn't be an action-oriented game. Let's go ahead and pick up some of this food. And while food doesn't actually matter when you're in the middle of a mission like this,
Skončila, blíži sa zima. Kto so zdravým rozumom by podpálil mlyn? Musíme sa porozprávať s mlynárom. Statok nie je ďaleko. Poďme.
food does matter in sort of the overworld situation where you're literally taking this last train, you know, across Russia, where you'll need food, you'll need supplies, you'll need munitions, all that kind of stuff. So you're always on the lookout for resources as you're doing your real-time missions to support your kind of strategic map, let's call it, for lack of a better term. We're all familiar with that dichotomy, right? So for example, there's some extra food over here, which I could have easily walked right by if I'd been just a little bit further, you know, south, so to speak. So stuff like that will happen in real-time missions, and keeping an eye out for this stuff is, I assume, going to be crucial further down the line, whereas, you know, for these initial tutorialized missions, of course, it's a little bit softer on you. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on and take a look.
Ak je tam niekto nažive, je našou povinnosťou pokúsiť sa mu pomôcť.
At the Miller's house.
Niečo tam leží.
Přišli jste zabít i mě?
Nie, pani. Sme československí legionári na ceste do Vladivostoku. Chceli sme nakúpiť zásoby vo vašom mlyne, ale keď sme prišli, bol v plameňoch. Kto to urobil?
Bolševici. Dožadovali se, abychom jim předali zásoby na zimu jménem Lenina. Můj syn odmítl. Musíme živit rodinu, říkal. A tak ho zabili. A děti taky. Ty vojáci jste všichni stejní. Umíte jenom zabíjet. Jděte pryč a nechte mě umřít v pokoji.
Jestli bolševici chtěli jídlo, proč nechali ty pytle schořet spolu s mlýnem?
O jedlo vôbec nešlo. Tak to dopadá, keď odmietnete spolupracovať s Červenou armádou. Červení, ktorí zapálili túto farmu, sa nesmú dozvedieť, že sme tu. Ale nesmieme riskovať vlak. Nájdite si dobré miesto a preskúmajte kolaje pred nami. Ak je tam nejaký problém, aspoň budeme pripravení.
All right, let's nudge forward over here. Send our scout up in this general direction. Again, I kind of know where I need to go. I'm going to be transparent about that. I'm not guessing or pretending to not know what I need to do. Let's send our scout up over here to this vantage point from where he can actually scout the tracks. Sorry, I mistook this for this. They look kind of similar, but let's get our scout up over here.
To červení zabili rodinu tej mlynárky a všetko spálili. Zaslúžia si smrť.
Bohovoják. Červená armáda sa bude zodpovedať za zločiny proti svojim krajanom. Ale nie nám. Stále sme na ruskom území a čaká nás dlhá cesta domov. Nechceme si robiť nepriateľov.
Nemluvě o tom, že diplomatické incidenty by mohly ohrozit naši novou republiku.
Dosť rečí. Naspäť do vlaku. Možno cestou nájdeme ďalšie zásoby.
So, again, the setting of the game itself is quite interesting in terms of where your characters find themselves from like a moral standpoint, from a political standpoint, all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool setting. It's a really cool idea as well, to think about how, you know, citizens, I guess, or soldiers, they're both, right, citizens and soldiers of a newly born republic, might need to kind of tiptoe around certain things.
To sú vypchaté čarodejnice.
Now, I'm just chasing after scarecrows
Babu Jagu, matku všech čarodějnic.
because of the side objective here.
Viac strieľania.
Go pick up some more resources over here. Again, I could have easily missed that, and I'm sure there's plenty of resources that I am missing, but that's okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking for resources over here. It's just the early missions. It's all tutorialized, so it's a bit more forgiving, I suppose you could say. But I am going to go ahead and chase after some scarecrows to destroy them and accomplish our secondary mission. You are looking to gather XP for your soldiers. I think I mentioned this just moments ago, that they do level up. They do gain access to better abilities. They perform, you know, better in their tasks based on various stats and stuff that we'll look at shortly, and those are impacted by them leveling up as well. So you are encouraged to actually take on not just the main objective, but side objectives as well, because they will have a direct impact on your soldiers' performance. Pretty sure there's another. Yeah, there we go. The scarecrow down over here. Get the job done. Nice and easy. And then let's make our way over to the train. Now, the interesting thing here is that sometimes in more complex missions, you'll find yourself needing to potentially leave somebody behind because you got ambushed or something might have happened. And if you do that, if you leave someone behind in a mission, go to the exit area and decide to move on, they will be left behind. They're not going home.
My legionári nikde nikoho nenecháme. Priveďte sem celú čatu, než dáte rozkaz na odchod.
And that's exactly why the game kind of outlines that. Like, don't leave anybody behind. If you have to, you can. You're absolutely able to, but they will get left behind. And all the investment you did in their skills, in their, you know, training and all that good stuff, any attachment you've made to them is done for. But yes, we've got everybody here, of course, because this is a relatively simple mission. Let's go ahead and leave. Confirm? Absolutely. Now here again, we get a quick summary of how we did. We can take a look at the objectives, and you can see how XP has been applied to combat role XP specifically, and I'll explain the difference shortly, but as you can see, practice makes perfect. Our side objective over here did give us 500 XP, which is actually, I mean, it's quite a bit when you consider how much you get for doing primary objectives, right? It's no small amount, and like I said, that does have a direct impact on how things play out for you. You also get an idea of what kind of loot you acquired, any equipment you got, or, you know, what you used. For example, if you threw grenades and stuff, then that actually gets deducted from your global stockpile of grenades that you have on your train and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm getting too excited to explain some of these mechanics, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But the journey begins. As you and the others board the train, empty-handed, a discussion ensues about the recent events. Some feel enraged, some uneasy. You're lost in thought about the experience of being in command. Major Gazdik grabs you by the shoulder, snapping you out of it. You did well, Captain. But you should stop bragging and start playing the role you hope for. Today, you learn the bread and butter of commanding. Things never go the way you imagine. We shouldn't have just let the Reds leave. They should pay for their actions, killing people, stealing and destroying food. Our provisional government said we should avoid conflicts. We cannot go around passing sentences as we see fit. We need to follow orders. You can see here that Maximilian Drap, I'm butchering these names, I apologize, has a specific trait, intelligent, and because of that, he says something specific. Now, I'm not sure how far and how deep this rabbit hole goes, but it's very exciting to me to see these kinds of moments pop up nice and early even. Either way, what does he say? He says, look what they do to their own people. What do you imagine they'll do to us when we actually face them, considering we're a sizable military force in their country, while civil war is brewing? Now, while we were only commanding, 4 soldiers in that mission, the reality is that our train actually has a lot of soldiers on it, and as we go on this journey, we'll be collecting more and more and more. So you start getting choices in terms of which classes you want to have on a mission. You start having multiple squads that you can send out to do a variety of tasks. So yeah, we are a sizable military force going right through their country. What do we say here? We have to be neutral. We're soldiers and need to follow orders, or think about the consequences if we caught them red-handed as they kill civilians. We'd probably be off, but no, we have to be neutral. We're soldiers, and we need to follow orders. Either way, I bet they would scatter if we faced them. They'd be thrilled to see us there. I bet they'd tell everyone how Czechoslovak legionnaires shot an honest miller and his family, burned the mill, and left the food to be destroyed. Shall we proceed to Moscow then, as planned? Or are we expecting trouble? We will go to Moscow to pick up my future advisor, Captain Langer. He is currently working to negotiate our safe passage to Vladivostok. Let's hope the negotiations will bear fruit. Indeed. Speaking of fruit, since we didn't manage to replenish our supplies, we'll stop at the next station to do so. Dismissed. Alright, new quest. The journey begins. Go to Sukinichi. Oh god, these names are gonna... Go to the next city down the way to get more supplies for the long journey. I'll get better at it when the game actually releases and I'm playing a full Let's Play for the channel. But yes, you can see that we are, of course, very much on rails. We are on a train. But from time to time, you will be able to get off the train to explore the countryside and have opportunities to scoop stuff up from nearby villages, go hunting, go fishing, things like that, to help with the variety of resources that you need to gather. You know, from fuel and food to money, wood, metal, cloth, herbs, and gunpowder, each of them valuable in their own way. Let's actually take a quick moment over here to take a look at our train, because it is, well, it's basically character in and of itself, and this will allow us to explore a lot of the mechanics and systems about the various characters on board this character of a train. If you're not interested in this breakdown, then I will have timestamps down below so you can kind of skip ahead if you'd rather just get straight into the action. But I do think these mechanics are fascinating, and I want to highlight them relatively quickly. So each car on your train has spots for workers, as you can see. Well, I shouldn't have said that before we got to the storage car. Some of these cars are obviously just for storage. Others, though, are living spaces, and some are, for example, for recovery from injuries. Some are for providing support during a mission, for example, artillery support, and others are to keep the train moving. You have day shifts and night shifts, and depending on the workers' traits and abilities, they will be more or less efficient at their tasks. Now, when we finish that combat mission, you saw we got combat mission XP, which can be used to improve combat mission abilities. But when people are assigned to occupation slots, doing various tasks such as, stoking or driving, they gain experience for being on the train, working experience, let's call it. And that's used to upgrade different things. So you get kind of two tracks of upgrades, I suppose I could call it. And yes, there are various tasks that you can assign people to. Again, there's day and night shifts. You want to make sure people are well rested. Them not being rested will also have an impact on if you take them out on a mission and they're tired, that fatigue will over time sort of compound. Their stamina will drop, and if it ever reaches 0, then you won't be able to use them for at least a handful of missions up ahead until they're able to recover their stamina. So you have to be very kind of strategic about which soldiers you use when, who's busy with day and night shifts on board the train as well, and it's a really interesting balancing act of the resource that is stamina, while you're also balancing, of course, the need to have doctors when people are severely injured. Like, people can't take time off if there's a bunch of injured individuals that need help recovering, or you can't necessarily stop the stoking and the driving because then the train is, well, sitting still. And so you have to work through stamina like that. Apart from that, let's actually take a look at our soldiers as well. Again, I'm doing a very top level description of some of these mechanics because I don't want to spend 2 hours diving deep into every little screen that you're seeing here, but there is a lot going on. I mean, if you take a look at Yosef here, you'll see that we can control his rations. If we give him half rations, then of course we'll be saving on food, but over time he'll start he'll get this hungry status, and that'll impact his stamina, I believe, and his performance in general. We could also say no rations, in which case he won't just go hungry, he'll start starving. So, there's that whole aspect of managing your resources versus the overall status of your soldiers. In terms of status, we have stamina, we've already discussed, we've got morale, and we've got health. I think health is probably the most obvious one over here. Morale, I don't think I've had to deal with morale too much in my time playing the game so far, so we'll explore that a bit further ourselves together. But let's see here. Morale shows their motivation. If it drops to 0, right, desertion is imminent, so they might decide to just leave the train. If you have a highly skilled soldier who's lost morale, then that's going to hurt you just as much as them actually dying in combat or outside of it. Beyond that, you can see they've got their schedules as well, what they're doing during the day, what they're doing during the night, and they've got attributes: fitness, dexterity, intelligence, charisma, and willpower. And you can see, again, if you kind of pause as I hover over these, you can see how each of these attributes have impacts on things like how far they can throw grenades, or how good their precision is, how quickly they can, I believe, heal, yes, with intelligence. So each soldier, depending on what you want them kind of trained for will be upgraded in various ways as you gain attribute points over the course of upgrading them. They also have traits. We saw intelligent for one of our soldiers already, but we've got things like short-sighted, sickly, we've got belief systems, and we've got sort of characteristics more kind of I guess ingrained in their personality as opposed to physical representations. I don't know if I'd call this nature. I feel like pacifist is more of a nature thing, whereas something like short-sighted and sickly, that doesn't feel like nature per se. That feels like ailments almost. But I mean, if we look at somebody else, we've got what here? We've got clumsy and self-conscious. Again, those, I don't know about nature. Either way, entertainer as a character. So everyone's got their own thing going. And down below here, you can see the roles as well. So for example, Yosef here is a grenadier when he's in combat, but on the train, he's just a worker. Whereas Yosef here, on the train, he's an engineer, but he doesn't have a combat role. And you can gain roles over time through action and events. And we can also take a look at, for example, we've got our scout here, who over time, as he upgrades through the scout career path, let's call it, will gain extra benefits to his attributes and also extra abilities. So for example, our scout has recon and stabilize for starters, but when he gets to level 2, he'll have quick feet and distract. At level 3, he'll have critical shot and camouflage. At 4, death zone, and at 5, ghost. Knows how to move without being noticed. So again, you can see how it's very far from a traditional RTS. It's very character based, it's very skill based. It feels like a blend of RTS mechanics and, as I was saying earlier, those stealth tactics games, right? Now, down here you can see consumables as well. These are things that you can either cook up in the kitchen once you gain access to a kitchen car, which we don't yet have. Yes, there are more cars that will be added to the train over time, but you can produce consumables in kitchen cars, you can find them as loot, and as you can see, they have a variety of impacts. For example, increased willpower, increased intelligence, increased fitness, so on and so forth. And these are things that you'll want to keep in mind when you go out on missions, because some missions might involve a lot of talking, and so you'll want somebody who has improved charisma, or so on and so forth. I believe this is a nice quick look at the summary here. We'll be engaging with some of these mechanics further down the line, and I'll talk about those when we get to them. So for the time being, let's go ahead and close these and go back to the map view and continue pushing towards Tsukinichi. Tsukinichi? I'm not 100% sure. Feel free to teach me in the comments, by the way. I'm always open to being taught. Either way, we also have our squad overview screen over here in which we can create multiple squads. Right now, we just have enough soldiers for the one squad, so let's go ahead and get our machine gunner, our rifleman, our grenadier, who we did not see in the previous mission, our medic, and our scout. You can see they are slowly kind of leveling up, or gaining XP, I should say. Let's get you out of there. So you can see they're gaining XP to level up in that specific career path. You can unlock multiple classes for somebody. You can multi-class, and then depending on what class you want to gain XP in, you can assign them to that squad in that class. So for example, if Maximilian is both a scout and a machine gunner, but in squad 1 I want him to be as a machine gunner, I could do that, and anytime squad 1 goes out there, he'd gain XP under the machine gunner kind of a branch, leveling up those skills instead, versus sending him in as a scout, which is of course the only option he has right now. So let's go ahead and do that. We can see the equipment they have as well if we decide to change any of it for any reason. Of course, I mean, each piece of equipment has its own rate of fire, its own level of precision or accuracy, if you will, range, magazine size, reload time, all this kind of stuff that can of course make a very big difference in the heat of battle. All right, this is our squad. Looks good. Confirm that. You need squads to do anything to interact with the world, whether it's going into a city to engage in a mission, or it's to kind of go out and about to actually forage or anything. You'll notice as well, by the way, as I hover over Tsukinichi, we have some indicators there of how much coal it would take to get there. You can very freely move up and down the track if you want to. Well, I guess you can only move up the track. And you might want to choose your destinations based on, again, interacting with the greater world around you. But more on that in a bit. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. The mechanics are so interesting. I'm sorry, folks. I'm having a hard time resisting just kind of explaining all the cool parts of the game. Let's keep the gameplay going, though. Train's going to stop at the station over here. And what do we have? A fateful encounter. The train stops several dozens of meters before the station. There's another train blocking your path. As you and others exit the train, you're greeted with grave silence and a few rifles aimed in your direction from near the station. Towards you, a tall, Red Army officer is walking, accompanied by 2 soldiers. Greetings, legionaries. My name is Adam Morozov. Who is in command of your unit? Major Gazdig steps off the train and shakes Morozov's hand firmly. You glimpse his other hand resting on the hilt of his trench knife, a sure sign he smells trouble. And you know he is rarely wrong. Major Otakar Gazdik, I am in command of this train. To what do I owe the pleasure, General? Morozov betrays a look of mixed amusement and satisfaction, evidently unsure if the major has recognized his rank by the insignia on his uniform, or through his reputation as a hero of the Great War. A mere coincidence. I was visiting family nearby. Nonetheless, our encounter is most fortunate, as I have a proposition, one of mutual interest. What do you want, Morozov? Do tell. I'm all yours. Indeed, and that's how it should be, my friend, because it is in my power to ensure your safe passage through Russia. That is what you want, is it not? All you need to do is hand over your weapons. Give up our weapons? To you? I don't think so. You'd probably use them to shoot us, and then burn the entire station to the ground. You're not the first legionaries to pass through here. Your countrymen handed over their weapons without incident. For your soldiers' sake, do as I ask, or you will regret it. Oh, I'm sure you intend to let us be on our merry way, completely unscathed, with a belly full and a happy heart. I've said my piece, General. Start shooting, or get out of our way. It's your choice. Morozov stares silently at Gazdig. A few legionaries shift uneasily and unsling their rifles, which until now had been shouldered despite the obvious threat. Then, Morozov slowly raises his hands and smiles. There is no hint of deception in his expression. He seems at ease, almost pleased. I appreciate your candor, Major. I think we both know where we stand. Until we meet again. With a polite nod, Morozov turns away, and followed by his soldiers, he boards the Reds' train and departs. Everyone is a bit rattled. The departure of the train reveals the station. There, a disaster. Alright, so we've got a recommended squad size of 5 over here. Fairly easy mission. Some potential rewards, new soldiers, XP, of course, some fuel, cloth, and food to look out for as well. But as you can see, there is a stamina cost to going on this mission, so you will accordingly choose your squads if you had multiple. Of course, right now we only have the one, so let's go ahead and deploy and see what's going on at this station here.
Niečo je zlé. Je tu príliš ticho. Vyrazte, ale majte oči aj uši na stopkách.
Pripravený. Idem na pozíciu.
All right, look around for the locals, it says. Let's go ahead and move up. And as we're moving, by the way, you can see, and you might have noticed this in the previous mission as well, indicators for cover. When you actually get into a fight, there's a full cover with the full filled-in shields and partial cover with the unfilled-in shields. And you're... All right, let's get this medic healing the civilian using the stabilize, or no, using the heal skill over here. Go for it. I'll take a bit of time, obviously. Hope we won't get attacked while we're in the middle of doing that. Looks like we're okay, actually. But this is just introducing us to the use of active skills. Up you go, buddy.
Sme československí legionári na cestě do Vladivostoku. Môžete nám povedať, čo sa tu stalo?
Rudá armáda si přišla pro rekrut a zásoby. Řekli jsme jim, ať jdou pryč, ale oni se jen smáli a sebrali nám všechno, co chtěli. Každého, kdo se jim postavil, zabili. Viděli jsme nákladáky plné dělostřelecké munice, jak jedou k řece. Bydlí tam moje sestra. Jsem strachy bez sebe. Pomozte mi, prosím.
Prišli sme nakúpiť zásoby. Nie sa zapliesť do ruských záležitostí. Ale červení na nás zaútočili už skôr a očividne tu nechystajú nič dobré. Vlak proste nemôžeme riskovať. Takže musíme ísť zistiť, čo sa tu deje.
Vyzerá to, že ten most sabotovali. Budeme ho musieť opraviť, aby sme sa dostali ďalej.
Nástroje a materiály najdete v nedalekém táboře. Přímo tamhle.
All right. We gotta acquire the repair kit. And a side mission here, rejoin the flock. Legionnaires escorted to the exit area. Very well, let's go ahead and pull back. Very easily could have missed this medical kit, actually. I didn't even notice that was flashing at me. Let's go ahead and pick this medical kit up. and keep moving. You'll notice if we select our medic, they have a limited number of uses of heal at the bottom right corner there. You can see 1 plus 7, and that number is determined by, well, now it's 1 plus 8, because that number is determined by how many medical kits we're carrying, and we just picked one up. So while items are shared within your squad, overall they do get consumed by the specific person who uses them based on their class. Obviously, a medic is the only one who can do any healing. For example, you know, grenadiers are throwing grenades, so on and so forth. So again, there are some resources that are used in the kind of overworld strategic map layer, if you want to call it that, where your train, you know, needs food, wood, coal, etc., etc. And then there's some resources that are used in the more kind of tactical battle layer. Again, let's use that terminology. Why not? Where, you know, you've got grenades, you've got medical kits, things like that. Oh, we're getting into a fight over here. Get into cover. Start popping shots. These guys are not in cover. Let's send them a little bit further in. We all good? Oh. Point blank range fighting. That worked out. Took a bit of damage there. Don't love that, but we're okay. How are we looking over here? Just exploring for resources if there are any worth picking up, but I have my doubts. All right. Let's gotta move on. Now, I could stop and heal Maximilian up, I suppose, but he's still looking okay. I think he'll be fine. What do we have over here? That's the edge of the map. Let's move up this way. Seek cover just to play it safe. And you can see how your soldiers will intelligently kind of spread out and seek cover, as long as there is enough in a relatively decent proximity. You know, you have to be very wary of that. The game's not going to play itself. You have to be quite careful about, for example, sending 3 people into cover but leaving everybody else exposed, or what have you. Anybody up over here? No, looks like we're okay. Creeping up, keep creeping up. Nothing worth picking up there. Let's go. Ah, yes. New mechanic time.
Nepřítel podle všeho zaujímá dobrou obranou pozici v plném krytu. Bez dlouhého dostřelu či granátů budeme muset na jejich pozici vtrhnout.
Again, so situations like this, you'll have a variety of options. For example, yes, we could toss a grenade, but the game is asking us to select a rifleman and use the bayonet charge skill. So where's our rifleman? We've got bayonet charge. Now, this is an active ability that doesn't have a limited number of uses, because it's not like you use a bayonet once and then you dispose of it. Disposable bayonets, can you imagine? So yeah, we can bayonet charge whenever we want, but of course there is a cooldown timer here of 20 seconds. Either way, just a little too far away to trigger that. Let's creep a little bit further up, and bayonet charge. Still got to move up a bit. In we go. Let's go. Down he goes. Everybody moving up. Let's go. Let's creep up towards this repair kit. Gotta fix the bridge up.
Rudý mi jen hemží. Asi by bylo dobré zůstat v utajení co možná nejdéle. Hlavně nikdo nesmí omylem vystřelit. Střelba není zrovna nenápadná.
So again, now we're being introduced to some of these stealth mechanics. We have silent mode. Let's make sure everyone's in silent mode. You can tell with the little icon there or down over here. And now they'll start sneaking around. They'll move a lot closer. You can see as I toggle silent mode, their movement rate changes. But also, if we get a little bit closer, you'll see vision cones on the enemies, and you'll be able to stealth kill them. And that's why I was saying earlier that a lot of this game feels like a stealth tactics game. So we've got this guy down over here. If I hover over him, you can see where his kind of like awareness in terms of hearing is my assumption about the circle, and then of course his vision cone itself. Let's go ahead and get our scout moving in to get the job done, I think. Maximilian. Anyone can stealth kill. There's no kind of difference between your soldiers as far as stealth killing is concerned, or silent killing as the game calls it. I'm going to go ahead and not assume that stats have any direct impact on succeeding, because it looks like you're always kind of going to succeed on a stealth kill. And he goes. Nice and easy. Creep up. We got a couple more over here. Now, these guys we might want to take care of with a grenade, because they're so nicely clumped up. They aren't looking back here, so we could actually go in for stealth kills as well if we didn't want to use a grenade, but it's fun to use grenades. Let's creep up, though, because the game is going to teach us a new mechanic here as well. If I'm not mistaken, there we are, tactical view. So with tactical view, you can kind of pause and make plans for your movements. Give everyone separate commands, so I can tell this guy over here to, okay, you're going to move down to there. We're going to have our grenadier move up to here. We're going to have our medic up there, you know, so on and so forth. And then if we unpause, which if memory serves is spacebar, Everyone's going to kind of move into their position. You can also queue up commands. So let's say our grenadier has been told to move up to here, right? And then I can say, okay, then toss a grenade. Now, if I just say toss a grenade, he'll toss it from where he stands. No, that's not what I want. So I'm going to give him the order, shift, click on grenade, and then tell him to toss it over here. Was it not shift click? Was it control click? Hang on a second. I know this is possible. I let go of shift too early. Just had to remind myself. Right, so now he's going to move to that position and then throw the grenade. So this is interesting. Again, it reminds me of, Mimimi games, Desperados 3 or Shadow Gambit, where you can kind of pause, plan a bunch of orders for a bunch of soldiers, and execute at the same time. So for example, rather than toss a grenade, I can kind of set up a multi-stealth kill over here, give the command to go for it, and then we're killing them both at the same time, quicker than me clicking multiple clicks. Anyway, let's toss the grenade instead.
Dobre. Keď teraz máme tú hnusnú vec za sebou, pozrieme sa, aká zlá je situácia.
I love that. Stop! Bang! Oh, beautiful stuff. But yes, of course, we used a grenade, so we went from having 1+3 to 1+2. We are down an explosive grenade. So that's why sometimes you'll be a bit pickier about your approach to certain circumstances. If this were the full game, I probably would have gone in for the stealth kills, but this is just the Next Fest demo, so I know it's not the full narrative that we're going through. Alright, before we repair the bridge though, let's get our scout up over here to heal up. What is this thing? I don't have a name for it. It looks like a medical station, I suppose is what I'd call it. But you should be able to heal yourself up over here. Yes, excellent. Heal up. Topped up. Beauty. Do we only get the one use? Well, no one else is injured, so we can't tell for sure, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's a single use. Let's go ahead and repair the bridge and get a move on. Quickly now, buddy. Come on. Let's go. Nice.
Pokud je tady nějaká vyhlídková věž, měli bychom ji obsadit, abychom měli lepší přehled o okolí.
Knowledge is power. So let's go ahead and secure this watchtower. You cannot secure places if you're in stealth mode, so let's go ahead and get out of, or silent mode, I believe the game calls it. So let's get out of that. Move a little bit quicker as well. Go ahead and secure this tower and get some vision. Takes a second to capture, but once captured, we'll be able to very clearly tell what's ahead of us. Any second now.
To sú určite tie nákladiaky, ktoré prevážajú delostreleckou muníciu. Musíme ich zastaviť.
Neexistuje nič, čo by nezastavil granát.
Hlavně nesmíme být moc blízko výbuchu.
Alright, let's make our way over. And here we find an additional soldier for us to use. And we also find additional explosive grenades. Just like the medical kit that we saw at the beginning of this mission, you can get explosive grenades to take us from over here. We've got 1+5 because this guy, I guess, was carrying some to begin with. We're going to go ahead and grab some more to get us up to 1+6. Beautiful stuff. Down over here, you guys can come up. And as you can see, Rejoin the Flock has gone from 1 to 2 legionaries, so we got to keep him alive as well if we want our full XP from that side objective. Very conveniently placed explosive barrels will make this a lot easier for us. Let's go ahead and toss a grenade right up over here, and that should get the job done. Let's go.
Ten most vyzerá ako dokonalé miesto na prepadnutie. Ďalej by sme mali pokračovať až potom, čo zistíme, čo by nás mohlo čakať na druhej strane. Nemá niekto ďalekohľad?
Obviously a job for the scouts. Let's go ahead and move on up. Get our scout into a good position and get him peeking. Creeping. So it looks like the units that get added over the course of this mission, because there were two guys here. One was a grenadier, the other guy was a scout. They're all to make up for if you don't have any of the required classes for the mission objectives ahead of you. But yes, where's my original scout? Maximilian Drap. Let's go ahead and use your recon ability up over here. Would you look at that?
Vědí, že jsme tady. Přijdou si pro nás. Připravíme ten kulomet a dáme jim co proto.
All right. So we got about a minute to get set up. Let's go ahead and get everybody into position. Some of these guys up over there. Where is my machine gunner? There you are, buddy. Let's get you... Well, let's get these guys back a little bit, actually. Get our machine gunner over here. And let's set up our focused fire. Set up the machine gun to increase its range and accuracy. Of course, in a cone, we have a nice kind of choke point over here. So let's send everybody, and by everybody, I mean all of the bullets down that way. Get these guys into position as well. Scout. No, he won't fit up there. Pull these guys back. There's no place for them to take cover as the enemy comes through. Come on, get him.
Ostatní nejsou
Damn it.
tak hloupí, aby proti nám šli poté, co viděli, jak to jejich kámoši koupili na mostě.
Takže povoláme dělostrelecký útok a postaráme se, aby tí hajzli zaplatili za svoje zločiny.
Yo, what? Either that did not happen when I was previously playing this mission, or I missed it, but that guy just got executed for retreating. That's amazing. Oh man, that's a nice touch. Anyway, now we're introduced to the artillery strike. Like I mentioned just a handful of minutes ago, our train is able to support us from where it stands, if it's upgraded the right way, if people are assigned the right tasks and the right jobs are being done, and because we have people in the gun car, so to speak, we have access to the artillery strike. So why don't we go ahead and pop that down right over here with all these explosive barrels in the vicinity as well. Let's go for it.
Aha, ako to búcha.
Prišli sme si pre zásoby na cestu. Vezmeme ich a vypadneme odtiaľto.
Tie zásoby sa mi veľmi brať nechce. Červení ich určite ukradli tým dedinčanom.
Vesničané jsou mrtví. A jestli se nepohneme, budeme mrtví i my.
Snad to bude stát za to.
Alright, let's grab all these supplies.
Hle, ano.
Látky môžeme použiť na uniformy a deky. Pôjdeme do srdca Sibíry a...
Zima se blíží.
Pokračujte.
Tak je to vypad?
To je uhlie. Skvelé. Palivo je tá najcennejšia surovina na našej ceste.
Nie je naša najcennejšia surovina jedlo?
Ovšem, v dalším depu bychom si měli koupit lokomotivu, která jezdí na borůvky. A možná bychom mohli pálit borůvky, abychom se ve vlaku přes Sibiř zahřáli.
I really like the banter in this game. Even if I can't understand the words themselves, the tone definitely carries. I can tell the kind of annoyance that's being expressed, and the writing itself, of course, is translated, and I quite like that. Good stuff. All right, move on up this way. We've got 3 legionaries secured, looking good. Path looks clear. What do we have here? Rifle ammo. Looking safe. Looking safe. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, let's pick up this rifle ammo. There's no reason not to.
Ten, kdo tady nechal všechnu tu munici, musí být velmi zdatný s bajonetem.
No, keď mi v guľomete dôjde munícia, je to len bremeno. Jednoducho by som privolal delostrelecký útok.
And we can make our way out. So we've got all our secondary objectives completed. We've got the 3 of the legionaries, and all we have to do is bring our units to the designated area. So yeah, let's go. Now the legionaries are going to go onwards. We're 5 for 5, which means no one's getting left behind to die. So let's leave. What do we have over here? Medals. So this is one of the aspects of character management that I didn't touch on earlier because I knew it was coming up. Maximilian Drapp, our scout, I'll say was probably integral to the success of this mission, so we'll give him a medal. So he's been promoted now to level 2. We've got, of course, our machine gunner, Antonin. He did quite well on the bridge there, so we'll promote him as well, up to level 2. And then, you know what? Grenades came in handy here as well. So Josef, let's give you a medal. Unfortunately, that means that Bedrich and Magdalena don't get that kind of boosted upgrade to level 2. So you have to be very picky. I mean, you can give it to anybody you want to, but you have to be picky in terms of progression. It's an interesting way of doing progression. If I understand it correctly, and I could be wrong here, feel free to correct me if you know better, but giving a medal only boosts how much XP they get. So you can see how Josef, while given a medal, doesn't actually level up to level 2. He just gets a bunch more XP because of that medal, whereas everybody else is being upgraded to level 2 because the XP boost from getting a medal is getting them past that threshold. So it's an interesting way of, again, handling progression and allowing you to kind of have a bit of a difference between your soldiers. They're not all upgrading at the same rate at all times. I personally quite like that, as long as it's well handled and it's not too heavily weighted. Do I give this to Yosef, or do I try and get somebody else up to level 2? You know what? Let's stick with Yosef. Sure, why not? A little bit of role play here. Apart from that, we can see our summary over here of our squad's upgrades and updates. We can see how we did with the objectives and what gave us how much XP. Again, quite a bit earned this mission. The side mission apparently didn't give us any XP this time around. However, it did give us 3 additional legionaries, so can't complain about that. And if we take a look at the overview, again, we've got our equipment gained, resources gained as well. No statement on used ammunition or equipment, which is a little interesting, but again, this is an early access build. This is the Next Fest build. So either grenades aren't supposed to show up as used equipment, or they don't count because the math was net positive. I'm not 100% sure, I'll be honest, but let's move on. Back on the train, the soldiers discuss the confrontation with Morozov at the station, as well as the violence the Reds enacted against unarmed villagers. Most, though not all, feel that the artillery strike on the Reds' encampment was justified. Major Gazdik is lost in thought. I think the Reds were expecting us, setting a trap perhaps. What I don't understand is why, and why now? Isn't Captain Langer conducting negotiations in Moscow? He is, but we don't know the outcomes of these negotiations. Everyone, get to your posts. I have letters to write, and the train is not going to get us to Moscow by itself. Dismissed. Storm on the horizon. Go to Moscow to meet with Langer, who will serve as an advisor. New legionaries have joined us as well. Good stuff. They are Alfred Kraus, Elsbeta, oh boy, I'm not even going to attempt that last name, and Dusan. Dushan? Obviously butchering all these again. My apologies, folks. Very unfamiliar with the linguistic rules of this part of the world. I will be the first to admit that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and continue our journey towards Moscow over here, where there's a much more difficult mission waiting for us. So let's resume time, and as you can see, the train doesn't automatically start moving. We have to tell it to start moving. And depending on where we tell it to go, it will consume a various sort of amount of resources, and you can see 2 indicators there, 6 and 10, and that's because we're moving at normal speed. If we want to move at overdrive speed, we'll be going a lot faster. I don't know if we're ever being chased by anything. I haven't seen that happen yet in the game, but if you're ever being chased by something, or if you ever want to get out of somewhere quickly, you can flip to overdrive speed, but it will consume more fuel. That's what the number up top is versus the number below. Let's go ahead and take a look at our hospital car, actually, because we do have somebody who could use some help, right? Maximilian Drap took a bit of damage. He was able to heal himself in the middle of the mission, but he is still hurt, and he does still need the help of the hospital car for permanent recovery. So let's get Maximilian in here, and it'll take, what, 3 hours to get him healed up? It'll take him some time to get healed up, and obviously we have to actually move. Or that's not entirely true. We can stay still if we want to. I can stay put right here for the next 3 hours if I feel nervous about what lies ahead, right? Of course, that has its own cost, as well as people will be consuming various resources as days turn to night and so on and so forth, right? We have to worry about things like food. With that said, let's take a quick look at our soldier details once more, because we do have a couple of people who've leveled up, right? All right, looks like our... so the healing did not take 3 hours. It took like 3 minutes instead. Either way, let's go ahead and find, if I can very quickly, not my squad, though I have 3 new soldiers that I can assign to a separate squad if I want to. Heck, you know what? Why don't we? Create a new squad. Get these guys all in there. They only have the one class that they have access to, so let's go ahead and do that. That's squad 1 and squad 2. Good stuff. They're all resting right now. But what I'm looking for is... soldier overview? Not this. So soldier temperature is another interesting thing that gets tracked. Yeah, sure. Antonin. He's one of the guys that got promoted. So you can see here we have an attribute point that we can spend on any one of his attributes. He is what? You are... Who are you, Antonin? We've got... Antonin... I got that pop up again because I clicked on his portrait and opened up this screen. He is our machine gunner. Gotcha. So let's take a look at this. As level 2 machine gunner, he gets +1 to his dex by default. He gets controlled burst. Burst count is lowered, but chance to hit is increased. And he gets suppressive fire. Machine gunner lays down suppressive fire, disabling all enemies in the selected area, preventing them from shooting, moving, and using skills. Skill depletes the whole magazine. Interesting. Cool. But what attribute do I want to increase? Precision of focus. precision of recoil control, range of grenades and smoke bombs, range of distract and sleep, affects aim, reload time, work efficiency of doctors and cooks, and some combat skills. Again, as you saw earlier, these attributes don't just change things like the range of throwing a grenade. They also affect other things listed across the top, like health, melee damage, time to aim, etc. On the battlefield, and then various things as a worker on the train as well. I'm going to go ahead and increase dexterity. Sure, why not? That seems fitting. Goes up to 6. We can take a look at his bio as well, and you can see where he's earned his medals that have helped him get these upgrades. Other people have leveled up as well. We can go through chasing after them to see how we want to spend their points. For example, Maximilian Drapp, he's been promoted to Lance Corporal. We can, if we want to, unlock an additional role for him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that is an option. We got Engineer, Grenadier, Medic, Rifleman, and then, of course, the train side jobs as well, like Cook and Doctor, and there's Machine Gunner at the end as well. I'm fine with keeping him as a Scout for the time being, as a Scout only for the time being. Again, you can multi-class if you want to. This gives him Dex +1, Distract, and Quick Feet. Let's go ahead and increase his, what? Intelligence? No, his Dexterity? I feel like I'm going to lean towards Dexterity for everybody. Let's go with Fitness. Increases his time to aim. As a sniper, I guess that could be quite helpful. Sure, let's go ahead and do that. And we have one more person who leveled up. No, we don't, because the other person we gave a medal to didn't actually level up. All right, we're all done there. We're done with this as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's keep moving. Quickly now, let's go. All right, gotta get all the way to Moscow. It'll take us some time. Now, obviously, the game speed is separate from the train speed. So, you know, if you don't want to slowly watch your train go from one end of Russia to the other, you don't have to. You can go fast speed without having to use the additional fuel, obviously. Lots of little notifications over here. Gonna keep moving, and you'll see exactly why I'm planning on stopping over here shortly. Again, I'm not trying to hide the fact that I've played this this game up to an extent previously. But here we go, shopping list. You've been called into the office of Major Gazdik. Captain, as you're aware, we're low on some of the critical supplies. We got some in Sukhinichi, but not nearly enough, and we have a long way to go. There's a village ahead called Kaluga. Send a squad there and have them buy more food and herbs if they have some. Yes, Major, I'll send the squad. Alright, time for a shopping trip. Now, here's an interesting, combination, if you will, of mechanics and systems that we've seen before. If I click on Kaluga, I can send a squad to try and get some trading done. It would be ideal to have an avaricious character, someone with the trait avaricious, because as you can see, we'll get better pricing. They're likely to have a narrative effect as well, but it's the better pricing here that I assume is the big decision-making factor. So let's go ahead and select a squad. Do we have anybody with avaricious? I don't actually know. Oh, looks like we do. Someone in squad 2, actually someone in squad 1 as well is avaricious, but we'll send squad 2 over here. I'm not expecting any action, I'm not expecting any fighting, so a squad of 3 should be enough. Let's deploy these guys. It'll cost just the 1 stamina, right? Keep that in mind. It'll cost just the 1 stamina. Let's go ahead and deploy these guys. Cool. Off goes squad number 2 to Kaluga, and you know what? I don't like the train staying stationary, so let's keep moving. Let's slowly but surely keep moving. And I wouldn't regularly do this, but this is to highlight a mechanic, which is why I'm doing this. Squad 2 is going to keep going. They're going to keep going. Now, they're being kind of abandoned by the train, but don't worry about it. We're not going to go too far ahead. I just want to maybe, tuck away into the woods over here and be in an ideal spot to get ambushed. I don't know. Look, I'm just trying to explain the game's mechanics that I find fascinating. So, our squad has arrived. Your people have arrived at a village and are meeting with the village elder. Welcome, soldiers. What brings you here in these trying times? We've come to trade. We need food and herbs to treat the sick and wounded. I see. Well, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. The boys of the Red Army have already taken away all the extra food we had. Military requisition, they said, for the good of the state, you see. But you can visit Ilya's store. He's a good lad. He'll have something you could use. Shopping trip completed. I could learn a little bit more about the situation, or I could just leave. But I'm curious. Tell us more about the Reds. One would think that everything would calm down now that the Great War is over, where they recruit and requisition like they're getting ready for another war. We don't hear much here, but I'm worried. Thank you, sir. Alright, let's take a look at Elia, I suppose, who has what? Fuel, wood, cloth, and herbs. I can trade resources for resources. I can trade money for resources as well. I got about 5,000 in money. I don't know what currency it would be. Rubles? Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But let's go ahead and pick up what? Some herbs, I suppose. Doesn't hurt to take what? Like let's go ahead and sure 110 sounds good. We can afford it, right? Should be able to. It's red, which implies that I can't do it, but this is highlighting, so I should be able to. I can take some more stuff as well. I can take some wood, some cloth, but I'm not going to spend too much time over here. I could, of course, again, trade resources for resources instead. If I want to give them a grenade to buy, herbs, that's an option. If I want to sell artillery shells, that's an option. But what this tells me is that you can eventually buy these things as well. So, we have a handful of, machine guns, for example. If I want to give one off, I can. But ideally, or hopefully sometime in the future, some merchants might sell us machine guns or sniper rifles or variants thereof. But yes, this is good. We'll go ahead and use our money, accept that trade. This should work. Yes, it does indeed. Excellent. Close that. Mission accomplished. Now, let's get our squad back to the train. But hang on a second. It doesn't only cost 1 stamina anymore because our train has moved. So instead, it's going to cost 2 stamina for the squad to return to the train. That's all. Just wanted to show you how it actually takes into consideration where the train is versus where the squad is when you're giving the order. I think it's pretty cool. The reason why I want to highlight that is because to me it indicates that these systems and mechanics and the way they interact become more important as the game gets more intense. As you get further into it and as more mechanics and systems get unveiled, you'll have to manage stamina across multiple squads. You'll maybe have to keep the train moving because, I don't know, maybe you're being attacked or chased or... I don't know. I don't know, but it gets me excited, These are really cool mechanics. These are really interesting mechanics. I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. So, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And again, folks, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video as well, but just a reminder that if you do find this game interesting, if you would like to, keep an eye on it, don't hesitate to wishlist the game. Because wishlisting does make a very big difference for the developers. It gives the game a lot more visibility just because of how Steam works. And I'm sure it's a motivating factor for developers as well. So if you like what you see, don't hesitate to wishlist the game, right? All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving, I said. But yeah, no, all that aside, I'm really quite intrigued by the combination of mechanics between the sort of tactical battle stuff and the strategic layer as well. It feels like both are properly thought through and built upon. Nothing feels tacked on. There's some interesting management systems as far as everything from resources to decision-making to, dealing with... upgrading your soldiers and stuff. It's all good stuff. I find it very compelling, and I cannot wait until the game is released and I can play the full thing. It looks like we have an engine malfunction now. Suddenly, a loud metallic clang echoes through the air, and the train begins to slow down. It seems the engine has broken down. You see Major Gazdik coming towards you with a frown on his face. The damn thing broke again. Captain, assign some workers to fix the locomotive so we can continue to Moscow. And there's no point in waiting aimlessly for the repairs to finish, so let's take advantage of that. Send a squad to look for more supplies. We've got a long way to go, and we need to make the most of every moment. I hope we don't have more surprises today. I don't have a good feeling about the meeting with General Morozov. What are you waiting for, Captain? Get to work. Alright, time to go foraging. So let's go ahead and send our squad number 2 out foraging. Now, you can see here, having a hunter, a survivalist, and an herbalist would give us some advantages. Looks like we have... Jesus, a burglar in squad 2. What are you guys up to? Avaricious and a burglar. Alright, so squad 1 it's going to be because these guys have an herbalist and they have a hunter. Looks like neither of our squads have a survivalist, and that's fine. So we'll send squad 1 here instead. Deploy you. Off you go. We have a lake up over here as well where we can go fishing. Unfortunately, there's no matching traits. But we can still send somebody. There's no reason not to send somebody over. So let's send squad 2 over to the lake. We'll keep the train... Well, we can't keep the train moving because the engine has broken. Let's go ahead and resolve this malfunction here. It'll take, what, 2... Is that 2 hours or 2 minutes? I don't know. But it'll also cost us some metal. And that's why, of course, it's important to have some of these other resources as well. If you were wondering when wood and metal comes in handy, well, this is when. So let's go ahead and start the repairs there, get it all covered up. We have to assign workers. We have an idle worker. Let's get them in there. 93% worker efficiency. Influenced by his fitness, his willpower, and his focused trait. Good stuff. I believe the default is, 70% because he's a worker level 1, but then those bonuses are going quite a long way. If I assign additional workers, if I pull somebody off of something else, well, I don't think I want to do that. Everybody has a day and night task, so I don't want them to get too tired or anything. But if I do add additional workers, the time it takes will be reduced. The efficiency will go higher and higher. It'll be a summation of everyone's collective efficiency, and then the time required would go down as a result. Now let's go ahead and close that, though. Keep time moving forward. We're working away. We're working away. Okay, looks like it'll be 2 minutes, not hours. Now, in-game, it might translate to 2 hours, but gameplay-wise, it's 2 minutes. They've arrived at the forest, have they? Go ahead and forage. That'll take additional stamina, but that's why we sent them there. Search the area and gather what was usable. Sounds good. Situation was affected because Maximilian Drapp has trait Hunter, and so we've collected some game as well. Beautiful. And because we have an herbalist there as well, we've got some herbs. Beauty. But Maximilian twisted an ankle. Fantastic. Take a bit of damage to his health, but we've also gained some food and some herbs and combat roll XP too, divided equally among the soldiers in the squad. So if we'd sent a smaller squad, everybody would have gained a bit more XP than having sent this massive 5-person squad. But hey, lesson learned for next time, I suppose. Proceed with that. Let's go ahead and bring these guys back to the train. And our friend with the twisted ankle will need a bit of help, I think, getting that healed up. Again, the only cabin... It's not a cabin. Car. It's not a car. The locomotive is the only thing that's damaged right now. Everything else is still functional, so we can send our friend into the hospital car once he's actually back at the train. Obviously, we have to wait for that. Keep time moving, please, and thank you. Looks like these guys have arrived at the lake as well. Go ahead and not going to cost any stamina. They'll spend those 2 minutes fishing. Hopefully we'll catch something. Then we'll move the train up closer and bring them back, and it should cost less stamina to get them back on board the train. These guys have returned over to our hospital car. Buddy with the sprained ankle. Get you in there. Get that sorted. Shouldn't take too long. And back to the map view. We're almost done repairing our locomotive as well, looks like. Just about 19 seconds. Ah! But is he... Right. That's our day shift, and this is our night shift, and it just became nighttime. So now I got to go ahead and assign him to the night shift, keep him working through the day so that he actually gets the repairs done. So time actually plays a pretty major role in terms of worker assignment and things like that. I would have completely missed that. I'm glad I went in to check, but I would have completely missed that. Let's get the job done, though. Good stuff. Engine malfunction status removed. Let's go ahead and move up to here. The fishing is almost done. As soon as they're done, they'll make their way back up, and this should hopefully go from 2 down to 1 because we'll end up close enough to reduce the stamina cost there. Now, as night falls, you can see the visuals actually change quite a bit. I'll zoom back out over here. The city will light up. Yeah, you can see all the kind of lights coming on and stuff. Beautiful stuff. Well, nothing overdone or overstated, but nice touch. We're done at the lake here, and yep, it'll only cost the 1 stamina point to return. Not sure if they caught anything or not. I didn't see if our numbers up here changed. But let's keep moving, because I'm pretty sure that that's kind of like equidistant. Hopefully they'll be able to come on, wise up and change their direction. All right, let's stay put over here. Let them come to us. Speed time up. Regular speed now. All right, over to Moscow. Let's go. All right, I actually got to get to Moscow separately first. Move. Shall I speed time up? I'm not sure if there are any surprises waiting for me. We should be okay. Going to Moscow. Forest and lake are done. Nothing else to forage or visit en route, so we should be okay. Yeah, let's speed time up a little bit over here. Looks like Bedrich is doing all right now. Keep moving. Speed time up again. Check our journal. I don't know why I would draw my attention to that right now. Nothing in particular has happened. Though I suppose I suppose I could pop this open to show you the map. It is kind of an interesting look at where we're headed. Again, we're going all the way across the continent to get on a boat to be brought back to Europe. It's a funny ordeal. But you can see en route there are kind of split paths and things like that. There are various challenges that you can imagine happening past Penza over here especially. Very curious about how some of that stuff plays out. You can also over here see your lost soldiers. So far none, but I assume that there will be plenty of that happening as the game gets more intense further and further along. And you can also take a look at what happened across the various missions that you partook in, who earn medals and things like that. So the journal is a nice little collection of events, and it's a nice way of presenting all of that as well to the player. I quite like it. But yeah, let's hurry along to Moscow, see what's going on over here as we probably get betrayed. Oh, I love that you can actually see the station if you zoom in. Why can I not? It's like, get me to... There we go. You don't always have to set a waypoint, and I keep forgetting that you don't always have to set a waypoint. You can just say, move forward. Anyway, we have a mission here. Extremely difficult, quite a few potential rewards, and it costs a lot of stamina as well. Let's go ahead and check it out, though. This will move us to the next region, and we won't be able to go back. So if we'd left behind any side quests, if any deployed squads hadn't come back on the train, or if there were any spots that could be foraged, etc., those would all be forsaken. Fortunately, we're all good, and we can move on. No turning back. Thick black plumes of smoke rise to meet storm clouds overhead. Moscow is on fire. Through the pouring rain, you can hear gunfire. Major Gazdik moves from car to car, pulling senior officers aside for a briefing at the rear of the train as it slows for the city station. All right, as you can see outside, the situation isn't good. There's fighting in the streets of Moscow. It's nothing short of civil war. But we have our orders. We must go in and meet up with Captain Langer and his unit. So we are to locate Captain Langer and then depart Moscow together? This should be quick and easy, right? Let's assemble the squad and go into the city. Do not underestimate the danger. One stray bullet and we'll be in the middle of a bloodbath. And for God's sake, don't shoot first. We don't want to make things any worse. Is that clear? Dismissed. As the senior officers fall out and shuffle past, Major Gazdik grabs your arm and gives you a familiar, reassuring look. You'll be fine, Captain. Assign some soldiers for the mission. I trust your judgment. Have them locate Captain Langer as quickly as possible, but keep your wits about you. I'm expecting trouble.
Čo to? Major, ten vlak sa rúti plnou parou priamo proti nám.
Do pekla červený do nás tu narazí. Legionári, pripravte sa! Generál Morozov.
Měl jsem pocit, že se opět setkáme.
Ste klamár a zbabelec.
Jak to?
Zničiť vlak plný vojakov na cestě domů, keď naše národy mezi sebou nebojují.
Dovolte mi připomenout, že jsem vám dal na výběr, majore. Když složíte zbraně, můžete si běž překročit míru. Je to víc než spravedlivé a ta nabídka pořád platí. Ovšem bez vlaku. A teď? Své jednotce neříte, aby se vzdala.
Viete, že to neurobím.
Věrný až do horského konce. To respektuji. Bůh žehnej vaši duši, bratře Gazdíku.
Seržante, kapitána Langera. Musíme sa dostať do Vladivostoku.
Zavraždili majora Gazdíka. Toto nemôžeme nechať bez odplaty.
Yo, what? Okay. So when I was previously playing the game, I stopped just short of arriving at Moscow because I was like, something's gonna go down for sure. So I'm gonna leave that for when I actually play, so it'll be a nice little surprise. I was not expecting that. That is absolutely wild. And it throws me for a loop. I thought the whole point of the game was taking a train across the nation, but our train's been lost. I can only assume that after we handle Moscow, we have to acquire a new train and start from the ground up. I feel like what we've seen so far was like what at least they used to call an abilities, where the game kind of teases the various abilities that your train will eventually have, or that your character would eventually have, and then you have to kind of start from the ground up. I'm not Yo, I'm not sure how this plays out. And I can't wait to find out when the game actually releases. Folks, this is actually where we're going to go ahead and call it a session. We've gone well past the hour mark that I try to keep these previews to. I hope you enjoyed this early look at Last Train Home. I really can't wait until this game releases so I can dive into it, see what actually happens. I'm hooked by the narrative for sure, even more so now. I love the setting, I love the context of the game, I love the characterization, I love all the mechanics, both in the sort of real-time, tactical stuff and in the strategic overworld as well. Fascinating stuff all around. If you guys liked what you saw here today, again, don't hesitate to wishlist the game on Steam. And folks, if you like this channel and you haven't already been subscribed to it, you might want to consider subscribing. If you like this video, you might want to consider hitting the like button and letting me know by leaving a comment down below. With that said, though, I say we call it here and leave the rest of the story for later when The Last Train Home releases. As always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.